Okay, today we are playing a game on Numbani and Watchpoint Gibraltar. We will be playing Moira the entire way through, and as you might have been able to tell by the fact we're on two maps, this is actually two quick play games that have been put together. So, we don't care about our team comps, SR doesn't matter. I think our team comp right now is actually that we have three supports. I'm pretty sure we have Mercy, Ana, and Moira right now, which would be an issue in most circumstances, but Moira can quite easily end up with the gold damage medal anyway, so doesn't matter overly so. We are also on the console today, by the way, the PS4, it looks like. Oh, he remembered before the video was half over for once. What a time to be alive. So let's start the game. We're on Numbani first, as you may be able to tell from the fact we're on Numbani. We throw our healing orb up at them, which is not the most productive use of company resources. Just in general, healing orb is worse than the damage orb. Let's refer to my visual guide again. Because the damage orb, if you do 200 damage as Moira, you get 10% ult charge. It's not that hard to get the full 200 damage out of the damage orb. So it's just, every 10 seconds, realistically, you can get like 10% ult charge, or at least close to, like 7, something like that. Every 10 seconds, that's insane. Healing orb, most useful for healing yourself in a duel. Very rarely is actually that helpful during a team fight. Damage orb, because the thing is, Moira's left click is just like a lot of healing, so the healing orb itself tends to be unnecessary. So, we did chuck our orb out here. If we're gonna chuck it at, like, this is Numbani. We all have dreams of chucking it into the hallway in Numbani on defense, but, like, chucking it out here isn't bad. We just kind of send it off into nothingness. You gotta think about the geometry. Someone's probably gonna be standing out here, so we kind of want to actually bounce it, like, off this pillar, because then it's probably gonna spend more time hovering around the enemy team. If there's, like, a lot of people standing up here, like half their team or something's up here, you can just chuck it through them, and it's probably gonna do the full 200 damage as it travels through them. Not that many people, you gotta be a little bit more creative and try and do some geometry with it, because we are looking to get as close to having the 200 damage out of it as possible. Because we're trying to build ult charge, basically. So, there's a Genji back here. Moira really fucks up a Genji's day because she's got a lock-on weapon that goes through deflect. It's not a very strong lock-on, but it's not, I wouldn't describe it as being a precision weapon either, you know? It is precise enough that she actually has an accuracy stat, which is very incredible, honestly. What I want to know is, if Moira gets to have an accuracy stat for her right click, why doesn't Zarya have an accuracy stat for her left click? Doesn't make any sense to me. Zarya's is arguably harder to hit because it doesn't have the slight lock-on. It is bigger, I suppose, but if Moira gets one, why doesn't Zarya get one? You know? She should also get one. It's like the thing where, like, if Orisa gets to see the HP on her shield, and so does Reinhardt, why doesn't Winston get to see the HP on his shield? He does now, but, like, why didn't he get to? Why doesn't Zarya get to have an accuracy stat? It's very puzzling. So, Moira is pretty good in this circumstances. I think the best support to have with Moira is Ana, because, well, in a vacuum, because we all know that, synergy-wise, but we all know that, Mercy is just the best support in the game still, so, obviously, Moira and Mercy is the best actual combo. But if we're talking about synergy, right, instead of just Mercy's overpowered, Moira and Ana are the best because Moira plus Ana grenade is just insane AoE healing. Like, no one is gonna die. It's just so much. So in situations like this, you've got an Ana on your team. Moira and Ana is pretty insane because your team is just not gonna die. So we get a little spooked by the Bastion and fade back into the doorway. Fade's got a real low cooldown, so you don't really have to be afraid of, wasting it in most circumstances. You can, but you can end up wasting it, but it's pretty hard. So here comes Genji, coming through again. There's an orb currently coming through. We should be trying to heal the Mercy because she's going in to try and res somebody, which is when, without Valkyrie, which is when Mercy is, most vulnerable, and also she was, like, low HP. So we should have been healing, really. Come over here to try and use Coalescence. Unlimited power! Don't nano boost a Moira who's using Coalescence, is honestly really sad. Maybe if they're caught in a graviton, but, like, don't nano boost to Moira. It's one of those things that seems like it would be a lot better than it actually is in practice. So we use Coalescence to try and heal somebody, they end up dying. And then we get caught in the graviton, and it's just all around very sad, and wasn't really the best time to use Coalescence in general, because we weren't looking to get too much value out of it from that position. There were not many enemies to hit, and if we're healing, just using it to heal people, hopefully it's because it's like a graviton that they're stuck in, and we don't really just want to use it to heal people just in general, if at all possible. So, McCree's sleeping. Now he's purple. We're also purple. And we're gonna have a bit of lag right here. Oh, look at McCree. Fucking WarioWare smooth moves. Not the best use of the healing orb. Mostly because it's the healing orb. Remind you. So, D.Va's managed to kill Torbjorn and Anna right now. We've lost our Mercy. It's okay. We got 2 other supports. Now we've lost Anna. Alright, now we only actually have 1 support. Bastion's over there, it's okay, he was low HP in purple, so he's been killed. We're getting kind of low HP, so we're just going to use the healing orb right now. It is most commonly used to heal yourself, because Moira has trouble healing herself. Here comes a couple of people that we can be draining. Don't bother with Torbjorn turrets as Moira. That's like the most tragic thing to try and right-click. Just like, drain the Anna, drain the Torbjorn, drain somebody else. We're low HP right now. So we're going to come back over here to pick up this health kit. We could have used the healing orb again, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we throw the damage orb over there. That's fair enough, like, but, don't really want to have to leave the fight, or if at all possible. Moira is surprisingly difficult to kill in, most circumstances if she has a healing orb floating around her during a fight, because, well, assuming you throw it correctly, because what most people do when they're playing Moira is they're like, fuck, I need healing, so they throw it at the ground. That's the worst thing you can do with it. If you played Anna, this is really gonna fuck you up, because your default reaction to danger is gonna be, throw grenade at feet. That's really bad with Moira, because you throw the healing orb at your feet, and then goes up into space, and stops healing you. You actually want to throw it, like, at a wall, so that it bounces back across you again. And you can survive for just an incredibly long time as Moira, because if the orb does 75 healing per second, and your right-click drain is 33 HP per second. So, if you're fighting near your healing orb, and you're draining people, you're suddenly healing 100 HP, over 100 HP per second. You're suddenly very fucking difficult to kill. Going to make, like, a Moira guide. I've got some footage of me surviving on a point for far longer than I had any right to, because the healing orb plus drain is a lot of healing for Moira. And Fade being a 6-second cooldown that turns you invisible and invulnerable is also pretty insane. So, rather than coming in here, the moral of this story is basically, this is spooky. Rather than, oh, it's back! Oh no! Geometry. The moral of the story was we could have stayed out there, rather than coming back to pick up the health kit, because we could just start regenerating 100 HP per second, which is really hard to kill a Moira through. Genji's gonna be upset about this one, just, ooh, 200 damage, just straight up kill someone. So we're gonna use Coalescence right here. This is most commonly how I use Coalescence, where I wanna fight, so I wanna start a fight, so I'm just gonna use Coalescence, because you can use it to go in, right? And then it's damaging people. People also see you using Coalescence on your team, and they'll be like, fuck yeah, let's go, I wanna fight. It's, also, you wanna use it as soon as possible during a fight. Here, Genji's trying so hard right now. You wanna use it as early in a fight as possible, so that you can try and get as much benefit out of it as possible. All support ultimates are like this, where you wanna use them as early in a fight as possible. Coalescence is no different. So, I usually do use it basically to start a fight, honestly. Or in response to, like, a graviton or something, because if you're coalescencing through a graviton that your team is stuck in, it becomes pretty hard to kill the team, especially if you throw the healing orb into them first as well, because then, oh, that's a lot of healing. And you're already using your ult, so it's not like you need to generate healing off of the damage orb. So we try to fade out of that one, don't actually get far enough away to not get sucked back in. It's alright, this is a terrible graviton. As you can see, no one died, because Zarya was alone when she used it. Don't be that Zarya. So, even though we only used Coalescence not that long ago, we've almost got it again. So, when playing more, it occurs to me also that there was this part I had seen earlier, which was like early on in this game when we were trying to push into the first point. We were being inefficient with Moira's resource. I noticed this during the first time I watched it through, then the thing actually came up again, and then time to record, alright, immediately forgot all about that. Where we were basically just like throwing the healing through people, even though they weren't actually that damaged. Moira's left click has a healing over time effect on it as well. So if you just spray someone for half a second, the healing over time lingers on them and they recover 50 HP over 3 seconds. So if somebody's only a little bit hurt, you want to just like throw some on them so that the regen starts ticking and then you're good, basically. And then you're just slightly more efficient with your resource, which you do have to try and be efficient with because baseline you've got 9 seconds of it and it takes 45 seconds to recharge from empty to full by itself. Obviously doing damage accelerates this, and that's the whole point of Moira. But you are trying to be as efficient with your resources as possible. Unless somebody is, like, actively fighting and you don't want them to die, if you're just healing up poke or something, just, like, sprinkle them a little bit. We were being inefficient with that early on in the game, and I forgot to point it out at the time. Because I have a dreadfully short attention span. So we've killed Torbjorn. Feels good, man. Moira's left click is also just like a lot of healing. I think it's 70 HP per second on her left click. It's a lot. She like heals as much as Ana, basically. She's just not as good as Mercy, still. So here we fade forward aggressively to finish off the Genji. That's perfectly fine. Fade in aggressively all you want. It's a 6-second cooldown. Moira's hard to kill. Despite being a support, she's very difficult to kill. Unless there's a shield in the way, because then she can't drain people super easily. So we're just going to teabag our diva, as one does. And we've got Coalescence built up, which is cool, because Coalescence is a pretty strong ultimate. It's not incredible, you know, it's no Valkyrie, it's no Dragon Blade. It's probably like a 7, 8 out of 10, you know, whereas Dragon Blade and Valkyrie are like 9 out of 10. Valkyrie's probably a 10 out of 10, still, honestly. So we've come over here very aggressively. We're basically trying to flank on Moira right there, which is not what we want to do as Moira, because she's not very good at flanking. She kind of takes too long to kill people. So we're going to use Coalescence right now, and neither team quite fully wants to commit to this fight, so both teams' Moiras basically end up wasting their Coalescence. That's one of the most tragic nano boosts I've ever seen in my life. Here comes Genji, it's okay, we can fade away, and now we're in the doorway, and doesn't kill anyone with this one, it's very tragic for Genji. Now he's dead. He's not the best. So, their Bastion is also dead now, because they of course have a Bastion. There are also points during this game where we're sitting on our orb cooldown for a while. Just throw, if you don't have your ult, just like throw that damage orb out there, like basically on cooldown, because you're trying to. It's just like every 10 seconds, this is like 10% ult charge I'm gonna get. Bare minimum is probably gonna be like 7, right? Like, it's not that hard to get the full damage out of the orb, just like, on cooldown, chuck it in. So it is important to remember that Moira is a healer, and if you're picking a healer, your number one priority is healing people, and then doing damage is secondary to that, even as Moira, because she is still a healer. You have to... Every healer is number one priority, and then damage comes second. We should be healing this diva so that she doesn't lose her mech right now. And I know we want to try and finish off the Reinhardt, but we just get, like, really greedy for that, and then we don't end up killing him, and diva just ended up losing her mech. If we're healing the diva with our left click, the diva probably doesn't lose her mech, especially when you consider we also have 2 other fucking supports on our team, but just even, like, by bare minimum, us, like, Moira's left click is a fucking lot of healing. Because it's like 70 HP per second, and the healing over time effect, I believe, is separate, so it's like a lot of healing, basically. Just heal the diva. More important than doing damage. It's easy to forget, I know. I like Moira a lot. It's very easy to forget that you're meant to be healing people. But you are meant to be healing people above doing damage. Unless you've got no resource. In which case, then... you have to do damage to build your resource back up again. But if you've got resource, you should be trying to heal people. So, our team starting to lose some momentum during this fight. Here we're being inefficient with our resource again, because, like, people are already healthy, and we're still spraying them. Because, like, she's being healed by Mercy, no big deal, D.Va's already left, so we waste, like, half a second of our resource, which might not sound like a big deal until you consider that it takes 45 seconds to regen this healing resource up to full, right? Like, you really don't want to be wasting it. So here's just fucking textbook Torbjorn play. This dude was right behind us and we had no clue he was here. He could have just fucking killed us if he just used his gun, but no, he's trying to build a fucking turret right behind us. He's trying to fucking proxy us like he's a Protoss. But no. He's could have killed us, doesn't kill us, because he's Torbjorn. Torbjorn players. So, we've got Coalescence again, we're just going to use it right now. We are missing Anna, but it's okay. Honestly, if another Moira, in this sort of situation where, like, what, if the enemy Moira is just using her Coalescence on you, just fucking ignore her, because that's, like, a terrible use of Coalescence. She's going to use it as, like, a single target ultimate. Fuck that nonsense. You can just, like, shoot it into the rest of your team and their team, and you're being more productive than her. Like, if she's just going to coalesce you, just ignore it. Just coalesce your team and their team. So, kind of lose track of the Mercy a bit. Should have been healing her sooner. Here, we either are greedy and think we can dodge it without using Fade, or we react slowly and don't Fade out of the way and end up dying as a result. It's very tragic. Shouldn't have died. Fade was up. I use Fade, like, a fucking lot during the game. Like, it's got a 6-second cooldown. 6 seconds is really low, and it's quite difficult to just kill Moira unless you're really good. So, I Fade, like, a lot during the game, because, like, it fucks with people, right? Like, the fact it turns you invisible, and you can move surprisingly far in it because you're so fast during the Fade. Like, if you Fade around just, like, during combat, or, like, any kind of skirmish, like, it makes it really hard to keep track of you, and you're just generally harder to kill. No reason to Fade up into here. Again, we're just starting to basically flank as Moira, and we end up getting punished for this one. Could have thrown out the healing orb to try and survive, a bit greedy there, but we shouldn't have really even been in there to begin with. We are still a support. We don't want to be the front line. We want to be with the front line, but we don't want to be the front line. We should always still have a tank in between us and the enemy team. We don't want to be, like, flanking or, like, being the front line as Moira. We do want to be, like, near the front line, so that we can, you know, be fighting people and building our resource and just trying to have as much impact in the game as possible. But, so, important skill to have with Moira is you can use Fade to completely dodge ultimates like this, because you're invulnerable during Fade, so you can just straight up use it to dodge things like this on reaction, and it's very... I know it's hard to do some of these things on reaction, like, it's hard to dodge an Earth Shatter on reaction, but it is an important skill to have with Moira, especially since your team is so unlikely to have a Reinhardt these days. Maybe it'll go up, we'll see. But, if you're... This is like a game sense thing. If you're sort of keeping track of the Reinhardt, you can tell when a Reinhardt is fishing for an Earth Shatter, or he's likely to have an Earth Shatter, which is just kind of any time he's walking around without his shield up, basically, in most cases. And you can kind of anticipate it and try to dodge it like that, but, like, just dodging it on reaction is also realistic. Like, if you hear hammer and you're like, nope, don't want any part of that, just, like, slam the shift key. That's not the shift key, it's, left trigger, apparently. Left trigger? I guess so. L2. Seems like it would have been... I would have thought the beams were... Maybe it's... I don't know. Whatever. What was I saying? Right, so dodging ultimates with Fade is pretty important, because you're invulnerable during it, so even if the Earth Shatter goes through you during Fade, it won't hit you. D.Va's self-destruct, you can dodge it with that. It's also easier to dodge some ultimates than you would expect it to be, because the duration on Fade is almost an entire second. It's like 0.8 seconds. So, basically an entire second, so... You can use it to dodge all kinds of things, and it's not actually that hard, so dodging ultimates with Fade is important. Like, you gotta be ready, you gotta work on the reflexes. And, dodge Earth Shatter, and that's really good, especially since Reinhardt's not so popular these days. You still see some Reinhardt. He's picking up a little bit after Moira. We were looking for High Noon, which is why we were suddenly backing up. Since Moira's in the game, Reinhardt's picking up a little bit, I've noticed, but just being able to dodge another sad for her, purple during Coalescence. Here, you know, this comes out of us at nowhere, because we're trying to kill the other Moira. But that being said, we are positioning right next to the enemy Reinhardt, so if YouTube would be so kind as to actually fucking go backwards. We know the enemy Reinhardt's there, because we just saw it. Come the fuck on, YouTube. We know the enemy Reinhardt's there, so, spoiler, we win the game right there. We see that our Reinhardt has taken their Reinhardt away. We know he's right there. He might die, but, like, we know he's there, so we shouldn't really be positioning next to him, because just, like, bare minimum, we don't really want to get hit with Reinhardt's hammer, either. But then it ends up being worse that we get pinned. And we could just use Fade to, like, reposition to the other side of the payload, or, like, go up the staircase at the other Moira, all kinds of things. You can use Fade in the middle of a fight just to reposition into a better position. You don't always need to use it, to dodge something or, like, juke somebody. You can just use it to reposition during a fight, because it's very fast movement, and it only has a 6-second cooldown. It's very hard to get punished during, like, look at this Torbjorn play. Absolutely incredible. I killed one entire person. It's very hard to get punished while Fade is on cooldown, because the cooldown is so short. It's the best movement ability in the entire game. You can just use it to reposition during fights. You don't always need to use it to dodge or juke people. So now we are entering the Gibraltar stage. We are attacking again. Doesn't really make much difference. I do think Moira is a little bit better at attacking than she is defending. But honestly, Moira is good in, like, basically every circumstance. I've yet to find a situation in which Moira is really bad. She struggles a bit against dive comps, but she is still so survivable and has so many tools to defend herself that, like, it's still not the end of the world. Like, she is good in pretty much all circumstances. Someone the other day said to me that they thought Zenyatta was better for defending than Moira because Zenyatta has, Transcendence, which is, better than Coalescence at denying enemy ultimates like Dragon Blade and Graviton. And yeah, that's true. Transcendence is better for that, but Moira's better at so many other things that I still think it evens out. And Moira does still counter some ultimates with Coalescence, because it still does counter Graviton, provided you aren't in the Graviton, but even if you are, you can just fade out of the Graviton and then use Coalescence. Hopefully you don't get caught in the Graviton, but, you know. Like, it still nulls that out, because it is still just, like, a lot of healing. And you can throw the healing orb beforehand as well, if you're really concerned about it. Yeah, it won't save you from, like, Genji Dragon Blade, because he can just come and kill you during Coalescence, and then go about his business. But you can juke him with Fade, and then just play around the fact he's using Dragon Blade, because he's probably going to come for you. He's either going to go for you or Mercy, right? And you can dodge a Genji's Dragon Blade because of Fade. Like, you just gotta kind of read the Genji a bit, and, like, it's gonna vary on how hard that is to do, but, like, Moira is still good at defending. Like, Coalescence does deny certain enemy ultimates, and Moira herself just has, like, a really big impact in the game. Like, Zenyatta is traditionally the support you would pick if you want to do more damage, or you feel like your team doesn't do enough damage, because Discord Orb is really good. Honestly, I feel like Moira net is does way more damage than Zenyatta, just because she's another DPS hero, essentially. Like, she does enough DPS to be considered a DPS hero. So, like, even though, yeah, Zenyatta brings more damage with Discord Orb, I feel like Moira's just better. Her healing output overall is better than Zenyatta. She's way more survivable than Zenyatta is, and Coalescence is not that much worse as a defensive ultimate. It is worse, but, like, it's still a really good ultimate. So, like, yeah, I didn't fully agree with that one, just because Moira herself has so much impact. So we hover up here for a while, like, not really doing very much, and we throw the healing orb down there, like, refer to Exhibit A, you know. Just, like, get down there and left-click the dude. No need to be so scared about it. Just, like, get down here. Like, there's no need to hover up there, really. So I was really scared watching this part through earlier, because, like, I see Junkrat still throwing shit into this area, And then we kept walking into the path of that, even though we've got 80 HP left, so that was really scary. I felt like we were gonna die when I was watching that one through the first time, because we're like going right into the path of the Junkrat, but we didn't get hit by him, so it's fine. Our team comp is, of course, really bad right here. Takes us a little while to actually start healing the Anna. Again, when she's, like, close enough that she can just heal up to full off the regen, I don't really want to keep left-clicking her at that point. No need to throw the healing orb right here, because, like, just left-click her, like, that's gonna be enough healing 9 times out of 10. So, you know, sometimes it won't be, but, like, her left-click is a lot of healing. So, throw the damage orb out through them. We've got a lot of ult charge built up right now. This guy's almost dead. It's alright, we'll just left-click him. Oh, God. We're actually out of resource right now, which is really bad, because we haven't actually gotten to do much right-clicking, and we've been doing a lot of left-clicking. And now we're just going to use Coalescence. Basically just on the Diva, which I don't think is a great idea, because we are looking to get more value out of Coalescence than that. We want to be trying to hit some of our team and their team. Honestly, fuck that guy. Like, don't even throw that up there after him. Like, he's not even in critical HP yet. He's just yellow. Whatever, who cares? If he's just going to be out of line of sight, at low HP, just like fucking whatever. Don't waste your fucking precious 10-second long cooldown to heal that dude up. So, we've managed to get through this first area despite our atrocious team comp. So, we do see a bit that, like, if you're inefficient with resources and not actually doing that much right-clicking, Moira can end up feeling very useless at that point. As you're like, fuck, I need to heal right now, but, like, I need to actually generate some resource, and efficiency is important for Moira. That's why Moira is, like, the hardest support hero to play, because she has... All heroes have, like, a mechanical difficulty and then, like, a meta game sense difficulty thing, right? And some heroes are harder on one side than the other. Like, Mercy is very easy mechanically, but she's very heavy on the meta game sense side of the difficulty. Whereas Genji is not so much meta, but he's very heavy mechanically. Moira actually has difficulty in both sides, right? Like, she has a mechanical level of skill required, and then she has a meta skill level required, and resource management is basically an entirely unique mechanic to her. Like, Reinhardt kinda has it, Diva kinda has it, but it's not really their thing. Moira is resource management. That's why Moira is, like, the hardest support to play. She has difficulty for both areas. However, the payoff is very high. Like, if you're good at Moira, you have a massive influence during the game, because you do a lot of healing and a lot of damage. But you do have to be good to do it, which is why I think it's fine. Some people are upset about Moira, like, oh, support shouldn't be able to get gold damage and gold healing. That's crazy. Yeah, but you have to be good at the Moira is the thing, right? Like, an average or bad Moira is not going to consistently get gold damage and gold healing, right? Like, there's a level of skill required to do that, so I don't really care. Like, it's not an automatic thing that that's going to happen, because Moira's hard to play. It's like how Sombra is really strong and overpowered, actually, but she's the hardest hero in the game to play, also because she has a meta requirement and a mechanical requirement, both of which are extremely high. She's really overpowered. If you play against a really good Sombra, it's the most oppressive feeling in the entire world, because you feel like you can't do anything about it, because by the time you see Sombra coming, you've already been emped and your whole team died. Doesn't even matter that you have 6 ultimates, because you couldn't use them to defend yourselves, and you died anyway. They maybe didn't even have any ultimates other than Amp, and you still died because you just couldn't do anything for 6 seconds, which is an eternity. The 6-second cooldown on a movement ability? Fuck, it's like nothing, dude. 6 seconds just not allowed to use any abilities? That's fucking eternity right there. Time is subjective, you know. It's all a matter of perspective. What the fuck am I talking about at this point? I don't know, I've lost the point of what I was originally saying. So this is not the best use of the damage orb, because I would have thrown it in the room, because Reinhardt out here, okay, yeah, it gets like the full damage in still anyway. If we chuck it in there, these people are squishier. Like, it does 200 damage, just kills a 200 damage, 200 HP person, straight up. If we throw it into this room, might just kill somebody in this room, and it's like basically guaranteed to do the full damage on them in there, because it's a confined location. We chuck it at the Reinhardt, it still ends up doing the full damage, but chucking it in the room would have probably ended up being better overall. So we get really greedy for this Moira, and that's okay, Greed is good as long as it's a measured amount, okay? So, I would have also been greedy for this Moira, but I would have channeled my greed in a more productive fashion. If YouTube would be so kind as to actually fucking work for once in its entire life. So, Moira's low HP. Let's go back a little bit more. What a mistake that was. I should have known better. Come on. YouTube. My man. My dude. Fucking hate this website, dude. It's amazing that this website exists, and it's a marvel and all that, but also could it fucking work occasionally, you know? Just like on any real level. So we've done it. It's working again now. Let's try and get to this point. No, as soon as we get to the actual point that I'm trying to make. Okay, finally. So, we see Moira's really low HP. Here's what I do. Fade onto the staircase. 'Cause, here's the thing. We fade past the staircase. Junkrat's probably not even gonna know what the fuck until, like, Moira's already dead, because we don't actually need to hit her that much. Moira's not gonna know where we are. She's gonna be like, oh fuck, where's that Moira gonna appear? And by the time she knows, we're gonna kill her. We're just gonna right-click her. Maybe we can even punch her if we get close enough. And we just bypass the Junkrat, because he's gonna start throwing stuff into the doorway, as he does. And we end up dying. We just fade up to that Moira and kill her. No big deal. Don't be afraid to fade forward aggressively. Also, our orb was almost off cooldown. By the time we kill the enemy Moira to have like a second left on the cooldown, then we can just throw the healing orb into the room with us and Junkrat and start draining the Junkrat. And then that's going to buy us enough. If we don't kill the Junkrat outright, that's going to give us enough time to fade back out of the doorway again and get away from the Junkrat. Don't be afraid to fade forward aggressively, because you can do it. Like, it's okay. Moira is good at fighting people, despite being a support. I do it all the time. Dude, I fucking want to fight people. I'm fading into these fools all day long, and don't get punished for it, because you have to be pretty decent. Unless you're playing certain heroes, it's really hard to actually kill Moira, because she's draining you. And it's just like, well, if I'm playing Soldier and the enemy Moira is draining me, I have to actually, like, hit a lot of these shots to actually kill the Moira, right? Especially if she has the orb bouncing around. So we died before, and basically we're just walking around at low HP. We could have, and not trying, like, actively enough to heal ourselves instead. So, throw the damage orb up there. Again, just throw the damage orb out as much as possible. Like, just... It's one of those things, most of the enemy team is actually dead right now, so it's not even that important to worry about anything. Like, right now, like, it's gonna be fine. We got Coalescence. We don't need to use it. We've already won this fight. It does charge insanely fast, so it's not super terrible to waste it, but we had already won this fight. We didn't really need to use Coalescence. There was some kind of point I was gonna make before that happened. I think it was about the orbs, so it was probably just like damage orbs is really good, because building alt charge is really sick. Oh, that's it. The Moira's orb just like bouncing around is incredibly just annoying to be on the other team, right? Like, it's the kind of thing that you don't realize how annoying Moira's damage orb is until you play against a Moira who is just like throwing it out constantly. Because like just avoiding like Symmetra orbs is annoying, right? Like you just don't want to do it really. And then Moira's orb is like a Symmetra orb that has an AoE effect around it as well. So it's very aggravating ability just to see it bouncing around in front of you. So our Ana is like fucked basically. Like there's no way she gets out of that one. Maybe if she went upstairs, she could have gotten out of that one, but like that was not a good place for her to be in. So the enemy is actually performing an illegal maneuver right now. Bad use of the healing orb. You can just left click her. There's no need to use the healing orb on her. The enemy is actually performing an illegal maneuver right now because they've actually stalled the cart too early. Because the hangar door is still open. You don't want to make your big stalling play until the hangar door is actually closed, because if the hangar door is open, you just give them an extra option of how to enter the hangar, which you want to take as many options away from the enemy team as possible. So we should be trying to heal Ana right now, rather than trying to damage that dude, because Ana's nearly dead and we don't want Ana to die. We are still playing a healer, so we do have to do healing before we do damage. A little bit inefficient with our resources again. Dude's fucking dead. Not much we can do about that one because of Junkrat Tire. Moira isn't very good at dealing with Junkrat Tire. She doesn't really do that much damage quickly. The damage orb does 50 damage per second, so like if you kind of know where it's coming from, if you got a bit of warning, then Moira can deal with it, but it's kind of conditional. And if a Junkrat's good, he's not gonna get baited by Fade, but a Junkrat being good is conditional on the enemy team. Should be healing Reinhardt immediately, rather than trying to do damage, because we are still playing a support. I would use Coalescence here. I might have used it sooner, honestly, during this fight. Like, as soon as the two Reinhardts are, like, basically on top of each other, I probably say to myself, alright, I'm just gonna use Coalescence right now. Looks like we got caught in the geometry, with that one, which is unfortunate. It happens. It's gonna happen. Especially in, like, Gibraltar, which has, like, a lot of just shit laying around that you can get hung on. There's just, like, boxes and cables and stuff in weird places, you know? Yeah, so, we throw the healing orb out here. We do have a lot of people that need healing right now, so, might be okay. Could still just, like, left-click them and try to get the left-click through both of them, and that'd be, like, cool. Now we're damaged, so we really want to use the healing orb again. Don't, like, throw it at your feet, throw it at a wall. Just in general, with Moira orbs, you want to try and keep it horizontal rather than vertical, because if you keep it horizontal, it is going to bounce through the room more times, which is ultimately going to get more use out of it, because if you throw it up or down, then it's just going to start going off in weird directions. If you throw it down, it's just going to immediately go up, and then once it's up, well, it's not going to do much of anything. Sometimes you're going to, like, maybe you're throwing the damage orb up into the ship, and then it's going to bounce around the ship, fair enough, but, like, most of the time you want to try and keep it on, like, a horizontal angle, so that it bounces around the room, rather than bouncing off into the sky or the ceiling. Just general thing with, Moira's orb, so Reinhardt's really low, we're really low. Should have gone into the room on the right-hand side, because then we can pick up the health pack in there, and then we don't need to use this healing orb on ourselves. Again, don't throw it at your feet. It's the default reaction, I know, and I did this as well, and I was eventually like, this is stupid, I shouldn't be doing this, because it just goes right up immediately afterwards. There it actually, like, goes through the full thing before it even actually has time to get anywhere, because, like, us and Reinhardt both needed healing, so, like, you know, whatever. But, again, you know, only villains do that, so. Now, fight breaking out here. We do have Coalescence. He's using High Noon, so we're not gonna... I wouldn't do that one. That's, like, an acceptable time to use the healing orb as well. You can't realistically get to somebody, because it's too dangerous to actually go across to get into range, or it travels faster than you until it's healing someone, then it slows down. So if, like, someone far away from you urgently needs healing, you can throw the healing orb at them, and it might get there in time to heal them. Could have dodged this one, I'm pretty sure. I think we had Fade. What was I thinking? What was I thinking? I think we had Fade, so we could have dodged that one. We haven't seen Reinhardt use Earth Shatter in a long time, so we can kind of intuit that he has it. Here a lot of people do need healing. I would have used Coalescence sooner here. Or if I'm going to throw the healing orb, I throw the healing orb and then immediately use Coalescence. Like, few people low HP, yeah, you know, Coalescence, good time. The fear is, if a lot of people are low HP, people are just going to die, and then Coalescence is going to end up doing nothing, which is, you know, it's like the same issues Zenyatta has, you know, Mercy to some extent. Not a good use of the healing orb. We can just left-click the McCree, and that would have probably been adequate. Then we could throw the damage orb over there and be just building on our ult faster, you know? Getting into a scuffle with Doomfist, easy man to scuffle. As Moira, we should just throw the damage orb into this room sooner. Maybe we throw the healing orb in here, because then it's really hard for Doomfist to kill us while we're draining him as well. If you're in a duel with someone as Moira, either orb is useful. It just sort of depends on how confident you are on your skill relative to their skill. Healing orb will often be more consistent in a duel, just because it's really hard to die through the healing. But, if you're confident you can kill the dude, and that dude's not going to kill you, damage orb is just going to make it go faster. Because Moira's right click does 40 damage per second, 50 damage per second, and her damage orb does 50 damage per second, up until 200 damage. So, just baseline on 200 HP hero. It's going to take Moira 4 seconds to kill them with the damage orb, so that, with the right click. But if you use the damage orb, it cuts it in half. So, it just sort of depends on how you feel at the time, basically. So we use Coalescence. Fair enough time to use Coalescence. We've heard High Noon, so we're hiding out of the way. Wouldn't use the Healing Orb, because no one is super wounded. Didn't need to actually fade to dodge Meteor Strike, so we hold on to it instead, which is fair enough, because it wasn't going to hit us. No need to use Fade to dodge it. Use Fade to reposition back in here. Could have picked up a Sombra hacked health kit before coming back out here and gotten up to full HP, which would have taken up not much extra time and just healed us up slightly faster. Good thing. Use Fade to reposition back again. Fade's an amazing ability like that. Enemy team currently emped, so not very scary, and we win the game again. And neither game was particularly hard, even though they ended up kind of being slow grinder games. Good heavens, it's been 42 minutes. I guess the video was 23 minutes, so I guess it's not that surprising. New hero, also trying to be a bit more thorough than usual. I do, if you can believe it, I do make an active effort to try and be concise. I know, unbelievable. Moira, new hero. Want to try and be a little bit more thorough than usual, because she's a new hero. Kind of a few things stood out during these games. Mostly, smaller stuff, some inefficient resource management, greedy positioning, not using Fade in certain circumstances, not using Damage Orb enough, using Healing Orb when it's an overreaction because your left click is just a fucking lot of healing anyway. A bunch of things. Mostly smaller stuff, but then it's like a bunch of smaller stuff that ends up adding up into a big thing in the end. But it's mostly smaller stuff, which we talked about as it was happening, basically. So, thank you very much for watching. If you did, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer, and I hope you found the video helpful. Jesus Christ, that was a long one.